Hey, welcome to the world according to Steph. Now, this is the second time I'm trying this because the first time some weird process was running. Oh, I hate Windows 8. I really do. I'm about ready to start doing my videos. I got my other computer out here, and I'm about ready to switch back over to that because this is getting outrageous. Let me tell you. Okay, the reason I'm doing this one doesn't have to do with the other videos that I've been doing with it. It has something else to do with that actually will blend in. I made a statement and it's caused a bit of a stir. It's about love. Love, love, love. Remember the Beatles? Love, love, love? Yeah, they did a song about love. And it was cool, cool, cool. Now, you got to remember, I'm 59 years old, so, that's my world, okay? Now, I wasn't planning on doing this today, truthfully. I was tired, and I thought, hey, maybe I can watch a little TV, little recorded TV, who knows, just lay back and try to make my back calm down because it's in terrible spasms. Me and McCain were busy today. This is my partner. Okay, now, I got a friendship with this buddy, okay? Let's talk about love and friends and what it's really all about, or at least what Steph thinks it's all about. And the rest of you can say, well, Steph's an idiot and whatever, and that's all right. I don't care. I can live with that. Things like that just don't bother me, never did. Even when I was a wild and crazy woman. Now, some of you have written in, responded to some of my stuff. God can heal all. True. God is limitless. God can do anything. You know what isn't limitless, though? Us. We're the ones who place limitations on ourselves. Okay? Y'all know that, right? Because I've run into some doctors down here in Savannah, Georgia, that don't know that. They limited themselves. And the minute I found that out, guess what I did? I fired them. Yeah, they thought that they were going to get rid of me, but no. I fired them immediately. And I said, you know what? I don't need a doctor that is limited. I just don't need it. See, the way I see it, I have a relationship with everybody, okay? I have a relationship with even people on Google+. Now, if you decide you don't want to watch me or be part of my information place or whatever, then I guess our relationship ends. But that doesn't mean you can't come back, right? Okay, so the deal is, anybody I develop a relationship with, I start out to be friends with, don't I? Don't you? I know I do. And, that's step one. Let's become friends. Now, actually, that isn't step one. Step one is let's become friends with God and me. That's step one. I put it together. okay? I really do. In my priority list, which I have, me and God are on the #1 spot, okay? I got to be concerned with me first, and that's not being selfish. Being selfish is not thinking about me, not taking care of me, not doing the right thing so I'm good for my children, and I'm good for my parents, and I'm good for my siblings, and my nieces and my nephews. Because if I'm not taking care of me, I'm in bad shape, let me tell you. In fact, I can tell you for a fact that I was in bad shape. There was a time. And that's because I wouldn't let God be in my life. And I did not think highly of myself enough to put myself in a high place. Okay? Well, that's all changed now. It's all changed. And I think very highly of myself, not in a bad way, but in a very humble way. I believe that God created every single one of us, and for a very good reason. We all have special gifts. And if we use those special gifts, we are providing and we are doing God's desire for us. Now, in order for me to learn how to love someone, I have to develop a relationship with God and with me. Do you have a relationship with yourself? You should ask yourself that, do you? I do. I can be a real stupid idiot at times or act like one. I'm not that person, but I sure can act like one at times. And then there's things about me that I have to accept. And, I meditate and I pray. Well, I pray every day, but the meditation is very deep. And sometimes it even lasts 2 hours long. And when I have those kind of meditations, I can't go out and do things like caning my way through the store, see? They look for me because I almost fell in their store, and they watch out for me. When I lived in another city before I moved here, I did fall in one of the stores 4 times. 4 times. Now, I can't ride in those rag'em things. You know why? I'm fused from here to here. I can't bend the old neck this way or that way. Okay, have you ever noticed that? When I go to get a piece of paper or a book, I move my whole body to do it. It's the only way that I can do it. It's just part of life. I'm used to it now, by the grace of God. But anyway, let's try to explain. Let me try to explain what I meant when I wrote that thing about love, okay? I could have gone even deeper, but I didn't. We need to learn to love ourselves. I feel a lot of problems in this world is because we human beings have forgotten the one person besides God that we should be remembering. Us! What happened to us? Are we going to let someone else try to love us if we don't love ourselves? Now, how much sense does that make? Come on now, think about it. Now, I've seen a lot of strange stuff lately, of late. And by strange, I mean even more different than me and what I would have done, say, 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I was a wild thing. I would do just about anything. But there were reasons for that. I was kind of wild to begin with, but I had a little boy, and I loved him so much. He was my sweetheart little boy. He was everything to me. But, 30 years ago, the government didn't help women like they do now. There was no such thing as a WIC. And I had been raised that we take care of our families. Okay, that means if you have to have 2 jobs, you go out and work your butt off and have 2 jobs. Well, I did. For a while, my mother allowed my many brothers and sisters. I had 5 younger brothers and sisters. Most of them were old enough to babysit. And she would let me bring my little beautiful son over to the house and let them babysit for me. And then I would go to my other job. And I thought, well, this is okay because he'll be around his family. See? The funny thing is, my mother was very attached to this child because he was real dark skinned, just like her. You can't tell that in the picture I put out recently, but that's because she's getting ready to die. I think people, when they get old like that, they're real sick, and they don't get much sun or anything, I think they just get really different colored than what they normally are. And my mother was dark skinned her whole life. I never knew her any other way. But anyway, I had a dark skinned little boy with blonde red hair. And he was my darling baby boy. He was my firstborn. Well, his daddy was a black man, which didn't matter to me. But anyway, my mother figured that the reason she finally had a dark-skinned bloodline here was because of her Native Americanism. Well, that might be. I think he had both, frankly. When he went to live in New Mexico, the Navajo used to think he was full-blooded native. So, they refused to believe that he had any black in him at all. That's what they told him. No, you don't. You're pure Native American. Well, he wasn't. That's ridiculous. He was Irish, Scottish, Native American, and black. So, come on. But anyway, so here's what happened. Things seemed to be all right. I had to move out. My mother only let me live there for a short time. That was all right. I didn't get upset. I was young. I wasn't even 20 years old yet. And so my baby and I moved out. And he was my sweetheart. I loved him so. I love him. I still do. We have a relationship today. I just want you to know that. It's kind of weird, but we do have one. I don't hear from him very often, and that saddens me to no end. But anyway, what happened was when he by the time he turned 7 months old, it was shortly after Christmas. And my mother had decided right before Christmas that my brothers and sisters could no longer take care of their nephew. Now, they weren't happy about it. They were upset. They wanted to take care of their little nephew. They loved him so much. Oh my God. In fact, they took some real cute little pictures, which I can't find now. And that just makes me mad as mad can be. They were just the cutest little thing. He was a lot like me. He was his bones were tiny, and he took after me a lot. And today, if you saw his picture, and I put some of my grandfather and my great-grandfather up, you would see why the Navajo thought he was full-blooded native. Because he was just like them. He looked so much like them, it wasn't funny. The only difference was he has real curly hair, spiral curly, and it's blonde red. And he gets that from me. Not the curly hair, but the blonde red. He gets that from my dad's side. But anyway, when my mother said that she wasn't going to babysit anymore, for a while, my babysitter during the day, I had to employ her at night too. That meant that I would not even see my child during that break from going from one job. Here we go again. What the heck is running? Going from one job to the other. Okay? It was a problem. A serious problem. So, I was 20 years old. I want you to remember that. 20 years old. I did not feel comfortable to go to my parents, who had promised to help me. My dad had promised to help me. He loved that baby. Both my parents loved this baby with all their hearts. But they had strange ways of behaving. Okay, now somebody mentioned trust. Here was was a big lesson for me in life. This was one of the first lessons about trust that I truly learned. It had nothing to do with a marriage that I had that almost killed me, broke my neck. That didn't have anything to do with that. This had to do with trust in my own family. My dad told me that they would help me. Right before Christmas that year, after I brought my beautiful baby boy home, my mother made some strange decision, and she would do things like this. She had some issues in life. But she made some strange decision that none of my brothers and sisters could ever babysit for me. Well, when she did that, I never got to see my child. About the only time I saw him was at 10:30 at night. He was sound asleep, picking him up at the babysitter's. And Sundays, those were our days together. That was my special day with my little boy. Well, I met a lady at my first job, and she was a nurse at one time. And she became my friend, okay? Now, I put it like this because, you know, when you develop a friendship, it does take a while. It really does. You don't just, hey, we're friends. It seriously doesn't work that way, okay? But at the time, I guess I needed her in my life. And I feel that God put her in my life, regardless of what happened. I feel that she was put in my life to help give me some guidance and direction because I did not have any other place to go. I was working my butt off, and it wasn't enough. We weren't going to make it. I couldn't crunch that money to make it for us, and I could see where we were going to lose everything. Everything. We were going to be homeless. And I was scared to death for my child. I could have cared less about me, but I was scared to death about my child. So this lady worked on me for about a month, month and a half, and then I got a boyfriend too at the time. And he acted like he cared about my son. I had two boyfriends. One was a biker in the Chicago Outlaws, and the other one was this other guy, okay? The biker in the Chicago Outlaws, he was pretty cool. He was tattooed from head to foot. There was only one part of his body that wasn't tattooed, and I think you can figure that part out. Yeah, that's Steph's life. Now, I'm writing a book about all this. I really am. I think you'll enjoy it when I finish it. I truly, truly do. Because it's going to tell you things about miracles. It's going to tell you about angels. It's going to tell you about people who live and shouldn't be alive. But they have a purpose and they have to fulfill that purpose. So for some reason, God helps out and keeps them alive. That's why when people say things like, well, God can heal illness, but maybe God is healing a different kind of illness. We don't know what God heals when we pray and ask for. I don't ask for healing. I ask for God's guidance, direction, and wisdom for the most part, and divine love. I leave it up to God to figure out what I need, because God's done a pretty darn good job of doing that for me. Okay, now, bottom line is this. I made a decision that all my life I would look back and say, I think I made the wrong decision. But to this day, still, I do that occasionally. But then I remind myself that had I made that different decision, a lot of other things may not have happened. So, yes, I think it was absolutely the right decision for my dear child. I was ill-equipped to be a mother at that age without the experience that I needed in life, and I was just having a heck of a time. Not that I didn't love my child, I loved him, and I still do, with all my heart and soul. But anyway, she helped talk me into letting my child be adopted by a couple. They had an older daughter, and they went ahead and they wanted a son, but for some reason this woman couldn't have children. So they adopted my child. Now, when my child left my home and I kissed him goodbye, which I thought would be the last time, by the way, it was like saying goodbye to someone you love, thinking that they're dying. But that's how it affected me. I wanted to die. When my child was gone and we had to get rid of anything that was there that reminded me of him, my brother helped me do that. I couldn't take it. I couldn't bear it. And I believe the very next day I contacted one of my people I knew that had lots of different drugs. And he was a man that, or young man that acted like he was interested in me, long hair, hippie type guy. And we did something called PCP. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but let me tell you something. I shouldn't be here. I should be dead. I overdosed on that. And I do mean overdosed. We did it for a whole week. I have absolutely hardly any memory of that experience. But I do know that he told me that he thought at one point he was going to have to take me to the emergency room because he thought I was dying. Well, the truth of the matter was I wanted to die. I had no desire to be taken anywhere. I was taking that drug to die. My child was gone. I had nothing to live for. At least that's what I told myself. I'm going to tell you real quick a miracle that happened. When my son, well, several miracles happened, but I'll wait till later on one of them. It was truly a miracle. He was in super shock when I told him what I used to do, and it did happen. Okay, but here's the best miracle of all. My child found me right around his 19th birthday. He rejoined my family. Now, he didn't rejoin it the way I wanted it to be. But my son who passed away, he loved him. He loved his brother. He had a brother, and he loved him. My daughter, she loved him too, but she had some misgivings about him. And I think girls are like that. But I still think in her heart, she knows that's her blood, that's her brother, and that maybe someday they can be close again. That's what I pray for. Or I don't pray for that, but I pray for God's wisdom. But God knows what's in my heart or my desires. Okay, now let's talk about love. I've been married 4 times. Probably I should know a lot about love, huh? No, I don't. I didn't know a darn thing about love all those 4 times that I got married. But I will tell you one thing I knew about love. When I had a baby, I knew about love. Oh my God, did I find out about love? Yep. You have yourself a baby, and you're going to find out what love really is. But let's talk about love between two people, okay? I have lots of friends that I love. They are true friends. Let me tell you why they're true friends. We tell each other just about everything in our lives. We don't hold back. We agree to disagree. We honor and respect each other as we are. We don't try to change each other. We have no desire to do that. We wouldn't be friends if we wanted to do that. What would be the point? If one of them was killed, I'd be as torn up inside as I would if one of my family died. That's how close my friendship is. Now, when you've had the life I've had, you build this wall around you, okay? You're afraid to let people in. So you have to learn to let go of that fear. Well, I think I have, with God's help. I'm not afraid anymore. And I'll tell you something else. I let people be who they are for today. Because I know that in 10 years, those people are probably not going to be the same people. They're going to be a lot different. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, now, have you ever noticed that for the most part, you only keep your friends for about, 5, maybe 10 years? For the most part. I'm not talking about those really close friends. Think about it. Now, the really close friends you keep for a long time. And as you develop, your friendship develops. Other things develop within that friendship too. Trust. Acceptance. And then comes love. And at first, with some friends, that love may just be friendship love. In other words, it may not go beyond, we're just still friends, but I care about you enough that I can honestly tell you I love you as a person. Now, when it goes to a different point where, okay, I'm feeling my friendship is starting to grow in a different way. I am feeling very close to this individual in a very spiritual way, in a very physical way, and a very emotional way, but in a healthy way. Very healthy. In fact, balanced is how I like to describe it. It has to be in balance, or it will not last or do the test of time. I guarantee you it won't. Now, my parents are devoted to each other. They've been married for over 60 years. My mother's about ready, but we think she's going to die. The doctors keep telling us that, and she just keeps hanging in there, which is good and bad. I don't know which, but the one thing that we hate to see is that she has Alzheimer's. And it is tough right now. It wasn't in the beginning, but it is now. The family can't take care of her. She's out of control. So they had to put her in a home where they're used to taking care of people with that disease. My dad goes there every single day. He is absolutely devoted to his wife, to the max. The idea of not going over there to see her is out of the question. He wouldn't even consider it. He could be as sick as a dog and he would still go see my mother. And my mother, even with Alzheimer's, knows that my father is going to be there for her. That is love. Absolute and devoted love. They are friends. They were friends, and I feel they still are. They are soulmates. There's no question about that. And they had one hell of a marriage, let me tell you. It was a wild marriage. But you know what? The last, 30 years of it was the best it could ever be. They were really good friends. They really enjoyed life together. They did things together. They enjoyed every part of it. My mother was never jealous of my dad. My dad was never jealous of my mother in those 30 years. They had a wonderful relationship. It was all friendship and love. And they still had sex too. How about that? So they had everything. Everything. But they had to develop that relationship. And guess what? It did take a long time. Now, I don't think it needs to take that long. It just so happens that in their case, it did. A lot of things happened. Oh, and having a bunch of kids, that does what to you too. Try having 6 kids. I don't think you're going to be leaving each other anytime soon. But that's not the point. The point is the friendship part. Honor and respect. You've got to learn that person that you think that you're in love with, you need to ask yourself, okay, am I really friends with that person? Do we enjoy doing things together? And it doesn't have to be everything. That's almost too much. But when we do things, do we enjoy it? Do we fight a lot, or are we normal friends? Do we talk about things? We don't always have to agree on everything. Do we agree to disagree? That's what good friends are. My friends do not agree with everything that I say or everything that I profess to believe in. They don't all agree with that, but they're still my friends. And they would still, if I needed them, they'd be here. They'd be here in 2 seconds flat. And I'm talking men and women. I had male friends and I have female friends. Now, friendship, love has to start with friendship. You're not going to develop that trust, that deep, deep trust, until you become good, deep friends. How do you think you're going to develop any kind of trust without doing that? Think about it. Think about your men friends if you're a man. And if you're a woman, think about your women friends. And the ones that you really think you're really close to and you truly do trust. Now, I'm going to tell you something about trust. Sometimes it can bite you right in the butt. You know, I saw a lot of people write things about trust. That's a big thing to people. Of course we want to trust each other. But let me tell you what you have to trust first and foremost. God. You got to have faith in God. God provides all of our needs, every single one of them. I'm the greatest example of that in this world. And there's something else that God will do for you, if you let Him. If you sit back and you just be patient, God will give you that friend that will develop into something bigger and closer. Your friend will be your lover if you let God do the choosing. Let God do the work. You can't develop that friendship when you have sex the first night you meet someone. Ain't gonna happen. And I hope to God you can learn that before you're my age. I really do. And if you're my age and you're still doing things like that, woo! Well, you're in my prayers. Hey, I love y'all. Have a great night. And me and the cane, here's my friend. We say, see you later. Have a great one. Love ya. Bye-bye.